Hello guys, today we are going to do a quick lesson on how to rig a tube. As you guys are confused on how to rig a tube, no worries, because for me this was one of the most challenging lures to learn how to rig. I was so confused about this bait, I had no idea how to even rig it. Alright, so no worries, today I'm going to give you the full schmeal about tubes, alright? Or half the schmeal. I'll give you the rest of this schmeal some other day. Anyway, my two favorite, one favorite, other way I don't like that much, but my favorite way to rig a tube, and the most successful way in my opinion, is with this. It's a little, here, let me get that tagline off real quick. Oh, alright, well, never mind. Alright, it's I forget what they're called. They're little tube jig head. Anyway, if you want to buy some of these, which I have trouble finding them, but if you go on Tackle Warehouse and you click on Terminal Tackle, scroll all the way down till you find tube jigs. Alright, these are called tube jigs now, I remember. So what you want to do is you want to take your tube jig and you could spit on your hand and rub it in the spit, and the reason you do that is so it slides in your tube well. I necessarily don't need to do that right now because the tube I am using has a fairly big hole in it from previous times. So basically this rest is self-explanatory, you know what I mean. Anyway, you shove it in your tube, literally, and what you do is you want to poke that eye out of your tube. Alright, as you're looking on Tackle Warehouse, you'll see 90-degree hooks and 60-degree hooks. 90-degree hooks, I like to stay away as much as I can. If I am running out of 60 degrees, I'll use 90, but 90-degree hooks are straight up. So when you're dragging it across the rocks, it'll get stuck, alright? And you can't pop it out that easily. But a 60-degree hook, when you get stuck, it just kind of lifts over it. So go with the 60-degree if you can. If you can't, usually the 90 degrees they're okay, but you'll lose more. So that's an open hook, alright? Open hooks are one of my favorite ways to fish a tube because you get such a good hookup ratio, and you do lose quite a few in the rocks. Once you start fishing them, you'll kind of know how to snag them out. I'll make a video on how to unsnag the lure. But one modification I make when I do use open hook is I take my scissors, and where the hook kind of comes out, I just cut 1 centimeter down here, like that, so the hook kind of sticks out a little more. So you really get a good hook set, and I'll bet you 95% of the time you will catch a fish on that. No, even more. It's guaranteed you'll catch a fish if he picks it up, and you're decent at hook sets, I guess. And second way to rig a tube, which I hate doing, but sometimes there's just too many rocks to throw a open hook. You have to Texas rig. Think about tubes. If you want to Texas rig a tube, try to get the softest tube you could find. Like this is a Zoom tube. A little bit hard, but I love Zoom tubes for smallmouth because it really, when they pick it up, it really feels like a crawdad. And that's good. But if you want a soft tube, check out Bass. I don't have any more, but Bass Pro Shop tender tubes. They make really soft tubes, as the name says, tender tube. So what you do is you just do a Texas rig. Alright, that's pretty self-explanatory. I can't even say that. Why am I trying? I'm like, oh yeah, if I use some cool words, it'd sound cool. No. Anyway, so think about it's going to happen, it's going to stick up like that. And that's why tubes don't cooperate with me when I Texas rig. Anyway, alright. Most people just go in the middle like that. Someone taught me, and one of my older fisherman teachers taught me to side hook it like that. So it is Texas rigged, but it's hooked on its side, so when a fish bites down really hard, the hook sticks them. Yeah, you can rig it through the middle, but I recommend side hooking it like that. And honestly, if you can get away with the open hook, do the open hook. If you truly can't, like you're flipping, you're flipping wood, then I would definitely Texas rig. But if I'm flipping, I don't like flipping tubes. I don't get people who do that. So anyway, hopefully you have a better understanding on how to rig a tube. Once again, I'll go through it. You just kind of shove it in your tube. Make sure your tentacles aren't also in the tube at the same time as open hook. Best hookup ratio. Tubes work great around rocks. The color I'd recommend is a green pumpkin. Always works no matter where you are. Watermelon red flake for me has shown a lot of success. I like 3.5-inch tubes. 4-inch tubes are good, but 3.5, if you can get 3.5-inch tubes are my favorite. And weight wise, 1/4 ounce works best in most places if there's a little bit of wind, and it depends how deep you're fishing. If you're fishing Lake Erie and there's a ton of wind, fishing 30-25 feet of water, I'd go with a 3/4 ounce weight. If your weight, I mean, as like this, 3 and 4, you know what I mean, 3/4 ounce, and then 1/2 ounce if it's kind of, you know, if you're fishing shallow like 10 feet, I just stick with 1/4 to 1/2 if it's super windy, because it all depends. It just, whatever you feel is you're most comfortable with. Yeah, you could fish a 3/4 ounce and no wind, but the fish might not like it as much, or maybe they might like it a lot because it's falling really fast and they eat it as a reaction strike. So some people will be like, oh, it's just weight, but weight makes a big difference. If you're flipping with a 1/8 ounce weight, it's a big difference than flipping with a 1/4 ounce weight. So you just gotta play around. Catch you later, guys.